Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the statistically most viewed show of the Tuesday mornings, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. time period, the Debate, Pure Facts Edition. Today's topic is on GMOs. Are they an ally of humanity that we should further research, or a ticking time bomb ready to ruin our entire lives? We have our two mighty knowledgeable debaters, Mr. Angle Gimbler Thompson and Mr. Richard Bates Rensdorf.
Good morning, ladies.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Well then, as usual, we will start with some basic information about our intriguing topic of today. On the screen, please. Let's start with a simple definition of the term. The abbreviation GMO stands for a genetically modified organism. Now, the term tends to collect criticism about how broad it is, and it's true. Humans have been modifying their crops ever since farming was a thing. We had many methods developed, such as selective breeding, grafting, mutagenesis, hybridization, crossbreeding, and accelerated mutation to speed up the whole process. Now, since our focus is not on these methods specifically, we'll skip the details. The GMOs that we know today are organisms modified through genetic engineering, or genome editing as the youngsters call it. The process essentially shoves a desired gene into a desired organism, kind of similar to how guns shove bullets into people. Hence, the gene gun. These machines use high-pressure helium gas to shoot pellets of DNA wrapped in gold onto the target cells. They worked pretty fine, but as guns are, the targets had low chances of survival, so scientists had to find an alternative method. And so they found the agrobacterium. These little bacteria can insert their DNA safely into other cells. Now the scientists had a much easier time keeping the new cells alive. Nowadays, there are probably even better methods of genome editing available out there, but our scriptwriters were developing severe confusions and we sadly could not afford any medical bills or potential lawsuits, so we had to let them stop. So, to get on with the show, we will start by asking the big question. Should we keep using GMOs, or should we lay our eyes elsewhere? Mr. Thompson, if you may begin.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Narrator. So, to get on with my point, I believe that GMOs are definitely a part of our future. GMOs have many beneficial uses. A good example is the reduction of pesticide usage. GM crops like BT cabbage can produce their own form of pesticide that can fend off caterpillars and stop them from munching on their own leaves. Plus, the pesticide doesn't even affect any good insects like bees and butterflies and all the cute lot, so that's not even a worry.
Yes, Mr. Rensdorf?
I know for a fact that GMOs as a whole do not reduce any sort of pesticide use. In fact, they use it so much that they're even promoting the growth of superweeds resistant to it.
Do you have an example of this?
Yes, I do. The giant ragweed. Those weeds evolved to resist the glyphosate, which is a common pesticide used on Monsanto's GM crops.
Do you have anything to say, Mr. Thompson?
All I have to say is that the technology will improve in better ways soon. But there are other benefits. Using genetically modified microbes called bacillus, we can create biodegradable plastic. Well, mass-producing those small things have effects too, you know. What if it's released into the wild and spreads uncontrollably? Even if it doesn't, having one GMO dominate a specific market means that the genetic diversity of the species greatly decreases. If a single disease for that GMO comes along, it's going to be a big issue, like the Irish potato famine. We could possibly make resistant strands. Besides, making biodegradable plastics isn't the only thing GM microbes can do. We can make hepatitis V vaccines from genetically modified baker's yeast, for example. We can even create more nutritious foods. For populations with vitamin A deficiencies, we have made golden rice, which is a genetically modified rice, rich in vitamin A. It's also very easy to replace the original rice crops with golden rice, as it's nearly identical in every other way, except for its nutritional value. Well, those might be some heroic examples, but there are bad ones too. Most commercial GMO crops have something called an antibiotic resistance marker in their genes alongside their modification. It's used to check if some crop is a GMO or not. This could possibly create harmful bacteria resistant to those antibiotics as well, which is only additional to the growing number of antibiotic-resistant superbugs. Well, how much of a chance is there? Any examples? None yet, but only time will tell.
Okay, gentlemen, so far Mr. Thompson has suggested that GMOs can reduce pesticide usage, can create biodegradable plastics, can be used to produce vaccines, and bolster diets of malnourished people. Mr. Renstoff has said that GMOs can create pesticide-resistant weeds, reduce the genetic diversity of large populations, leading them prone to a disease sweep, and that GMOs' antibiotic resistance markers can create bacteria-resistant to those same biotics. Any other points to add?
I have. We still have insufficient knowledge of potential side effects of GMOs. As an example, let's look at cows. Cows are often injected with a genetically modified growth hormone called RBST to increase their milk production. However, some research found that increased uses of RBST in cows also increases the level of a milk protein called IGF-1, and this protein in high concentrations can lead to more chances of getting breast, colon, and prostate cancer. We need to increase safety precautions to prevent these accidents from happening again.
Both debaters well said. We will end this official debate here, and will return with a short review session with some members of the audience. Welcome back. We have with us Mr. Gary Stevenson. Say, Mr. Stevenson, would you mind sharing your thoughts on the subject with us?
Oh, certainly. I personally think that GMOs will be a part of our humanity's future because it just provides so many advantages over disadvantages. It's an improvement over the other conventional breeding methods. And I do believe that continuous improvements to technologies and policies governing this technology will eventually smooth out all the issues that we see currently suggested by Mr. Rensdorf.
And what made you come to this conclusion?
There are many GMOs that solve massive issues, such as the GM papayas and BT eggplants, which weren't mentioned in the debate, which saved an entire region's staple crops from dying of disease, and plastic-producing microbes that can vastly improve the Earth's environment. That sounds like a great idea. Modified organisms that literally produce vaccines. That also seems like a great idea to me. And I feel like if we're throwing these opportunities away, it's a really big waste of the technology that we have today. And so I do believe that the negatives are far lesser than the positives, and that they will eventually disappear with the advancement of policies, government, and technology. I feel like the golden rice mentioned by Mr. Thomas was really the deciding factor for me today. It requires no additional investment for the GMO to be used, unlike other examples like plastic microbes, while giving nutritional benefits to people who really need them. And I think it's a great example of what GMOs can do in the right hands. Because after all, GMOs are just a technology, and its good or bad really depends on who is using that technology.
All right, thank you for your answers, Mr.
Stevenson.
Yes, thank you. And this concludes our little segment of today's The Debate, Pure Facts Edition. Tune in on next week's The Debate, Pure Facts Edition for the debate of the century. Should we eat apples with braces on? And until next time, have a great week.